I paid $34 for our breakfast, while my boyfriend texted his friend to confirm he just sent him $1,500. The receipt sat between us on the laminate table, right next to his empty coffee mug. Mark was checking his phone, smiling at a text message, completely unaware that the air had left my lungs. For months, the narrative was exactly the same. Every time we went out to eat street, every time we grabbed a quick bite at the drive-thru, or even when we just stood in line for a $6 iced coffee at the local cafe, his hand stayed firmly in his pocket. He always sighed, shook his head, and muttered something about how things were incredibly tight at his logistics job this quarter. I understood. People hit rough patches, and when you care about someone, you step up. So I stepped up. Even after I lost my position at the design firm last month, I kept covering our expenses using the savings account I had spent 3 years building. I never complained. I figured we were a team, and keeping our weekend routine normal was worth the dent in my bank account. But looking at him now, the math simply stopped making sense. The waitress walked past our table, gave a polite nod, and set down the fresh pot of coffee, but I couldn't even look up to thank her. "Wait," I said, keeping my voice level, my fingers tightly interlaced around my own warm mug. "You lent Tom $1,500? Cash?" Mark looked up from his phone, his expression completely casual. He nodded, took a slow sip of his water, and leaned back in the booth. He explained that Tom wanted to do something incredibly special for his anniversary, maybe take his girlfriend on that big weekend trip they kept talking about. And Tom was just a little short on funds this month. He said it like he was a hero, a great friend who saved the day. Yeah, Tom was in a real jam with the planning, Mark said, his tone entirely relaxed, almost proud. And you know how it is when you want to impress someone. I had the extra money sitting in my checking account anyway, so I figured why not help a guy out? He'll pay me back when everything's clear up for him next year. He said it so easily, without a single care in the world, before sliding his phone back into his jeans pocket. My heart dropped straight into my stomach. $1,500 sitting in his checking account. That was more than the $1,000 he borrowed from my personal savings 6 months ago to pay off his old credit card debt. The exact same $1,000 he promised to return the moment his company issued their winter bonuses. I had been sitting in this exact diner, carefully calculating my monthly grocery budget down to the single dollar because I didn't have a steady paycheck anymore, while he was sitting on a massive cushion of cash. I stared at Mark, waiting for him to realize what he just said, but nothing happened. He just reached across the table, picked up the little plastic container of creamer, and peeled off the foil top. He didn't see the problem at all. "Mark," I whispered, the words feeling incredibly dry in my throat, "you owe me $1,000. You have owed me that exact amount since January, and I've paid for every single dinner, every movie ticket, and every single cup of coffee we touched for the last 4 months because you said you were drowning." The words didn't come out in a scream. They came out flat, exhausted, and broken. He blinked, his eyebrows pulling together in a flash of quick irritation. "Wow, okay. I didn't think you'd get this upset about me helping a friend. It is my money at the end of the day, right? I work hard for my paychecks. It's not like I threw it away. Tom is good for it." He waved his hand dismissively, minimizing the entire situation, like I was just being dramatic over a few pennies. "Besides, you told me your savings were totally fine for a while, so I didn't think you were hurting for the cash right this second." A young busboy walked up to our table with a plastic bin to clear our plates. He took one look at my face, froze for a split second, and quietly backed away without touching a single dish. My hands started to shake slightly, so I put them under the table, pressing them flat against my knees. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about the complete lack of respect, the casual lie he maintained every single time the check arrived at a restaurant, and the way he happily watched me drain my own limited funds while his remained perfectly safe. I didn't argue. I reached into my purse, pulled out a $20 bill, and dropped it right on top of the receipt. I stood up from the booth, slid my coat over my shoulders, and grabbed my bag, his eyes wide with sudden confusion as he realized the casual control he had over the situation was completely gone. "Where are you going?" he asked, his voice finally losing its confident edge. I looked down at him, seeing him clearly for the first time in 2 years. I told him he could take an Uber home and that my phone would be on silent for the rest of the weekend. I walked out of the diner into the bright morning sun and started walking toward the subway station alone.